I'm reminded of what Jesus said, before Abraham was I. Before Karen was, there were Hennie and Elsbeth. And I remember Hennie and Elsbeth, I remember you from a previous golden age in Wycliffe, South Africa, which is when the whole character of Wycliffe, South Africa was that of a Western white organization sending out people under difficult circumstances during apartheid, when nobody wanted South Africans. They've seen miracles, you've seen miracles happen, and there were quite a few people that were sent out from Wycliffe, South Africa. Steve and I, we once visited you and the office was in Kempton Park, so there's a lot of history there. And you're sitting here as ex-director, but what you folks did at that time, you supported folks overseas, you would communicate with them, you went to their churches to raise money for them. It was fantastic what you did. It really was. It was fantastic. So that is why I'm reminded of what Jesus said. Before Karen there was this fantastic couple who did a magnificent job under extremely difficult circumstances at that time politically in South Africa, with an organization that had a very different character that was necessary for that period. So although you are now here under 2016, 2017, I just want to highlight...
Goes way back.
They go way back before any of us, at least in Wycliffe, South Africa.
Well,
Roy Rose probably goes back furthest, but in Wycliffe, South Africa.
we became members at the end of '86, the same time as Karen and Sebastian did, I think. It's the same year. And so we inherited a wonderful, wonderful bunch of children. We've always seen you as our children. And we are very proud of our Wycliffe South African children, each one of them. And what a joy and a privilege it has been to see.
Children, not sheep.
We always call them our kids. So these two very special kids, what a joy and a privilege. You couldn't have been more excited. We couldn't have been more excited when they stepped into the breach and came, and Roy and Rose were there to assist. But we have been so excited and amazed at how God has used their skills, their gifting, the very special people they are, to grow Wycliffe South Africa. I know that Harry just agrees with me on that. And we were with Europe Area. After 12 years of directing, we went to Europe Area for a new assignment. We finished our assignment in 2016 with them. But we always kept links. And so it was wonderful to be able to come back into the Wycliffe team again, South African team, because we were working from a distance for a number of years with Europe before we were actually then ended our assignment and joined you. And it's been wonderful. We've been so blessed. We lost for words. We lost for words.
Since we're reflecting back, just one thing that I want to say. Of course, I joined with them leadership, and then Kurse. And when your name came up, I thought, definitely something is going to change to have a person from the field become the leader of the administrative team. It really must bring some change, and it did. God bless.
Our lives, in Wycliffe, the last 35 years. One thing about Karen, she has always come across as somebody who could organize nicely. And I remember many years ago, it was late 80s, beginning 90s, they were in Maputo, and Karen invited me to come and visit them there. And I did, and it was lovely. And the first thing I found myself doing was I suddenly had a pot of paint in my hand with a brush, painting yellow. I just see this yellow colour.
It's the only colour they had.
So yes, she can organise very well. But it was fun.
Thank you for coming. You also helped us unpack our, undo our
Yes.
crates.
Oh
There's no
yes.
photos of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's. I don't know what year it was, but I
That was
just.
1989, but then in 95 you came to Ibu, remember?
Yes.
And that was the day of the World Cup final in South Africa. And
Right.
we were on the boat between Pemba and Ibu. We were listening with the phone. All of us huddled around the phone. South Africa radio. As South Africa was winning. You remember that?
Yes, I remember that. I've still got a photograph of you sitting there on the bed with the tension, the excitement. No, I just want to say that we've had a lovely experience with knowing you. We thank the Lord for that. It's and all of you are special. God has called each one of us, and the Lord has been good to us. Just thank you for being Karen and Sebastian. We really appreciate you, and the Lord bless you in the next step ahead.
I think I'll take what you just shared, Harry, and just build off that, and then from the era, then Beaulla or Sarel, if you want to add anything as well. Not everyone has to, by the way, but if you feel led to. But, what you were saying about just involving people giving you a paintbrush, I think, even though I joined, the beginning of 2017 with Khotso 1 month old, and I used to be pushing him into the office in his little pram, but it started much before that. And just one memory I'll share was that strategy workshop, Karen, where, we knew each other from church and from having met you previously through my parents. We had that wonderful coffee with you and Sebastian and Mpho and I and my parents, then ended up in the same church together. And you knew I was doing consulting work at the time. And to be honest, I cannot even remember when that paintbrush got handed to me of just, Jennie, come. It must have been through some conversation or another. And then you inspired me to convince my boss to do a pro bono workshop for 2 days, which I still don't know how you convinced, Karen. I have no idea, because my boss at that time was not one to just do things pro bono. She has a great heart, but that didn't happen very often. So there was something in that just involving people. And I'll never forget those 2 days. There was several of you that were in the room. We were at that, what is that place in the south? St. Martin's, yeah. And it blew my mind, to be honest. I was there in the role as a facilitator, but having grown up in Wycliffe, what was being discussed there was no Wycliffe I had known from my childhood. Yeah, you were talking about logos and Africa Alive and doing this and doing that. And it was just really inspiring. It was very, very different than, and yet, and I think this is a thread that's come through as well, it had the same spirit, it had the same thread, the passion for the word, and the passion for making sure that anyone who didn't have the word needed to be prioritized and given the word. And so that, which had rung true throughout my childhood, having parents involved in Bible translation, it felt like a bit of a homecoming. This is my family. And so that's just one memory I'll share that predates when I officially joined. But I will very much remember. And I remember you, Tsecho. Tsecho, you stood out in my mind. Yes. Because that room was full of probably a lot more gray hair than what you represented. and I just remember you just spoke out very clearly and boldly about what Wycliffe South Africa needs to grow into. And so, I just think that's been the spirit that's been encouraged, is how we each find our voice, find the vision.
It's the lady that needs makeup.
Yes, you remember that?
It's makeup and
Yeah. So. So So for anyone who wasn't there, basically what Ansi's referring to is we did a visioning exercise where we had to think of a picture of what does Wycliffe represent now and what could it look like in the future. And Sarel gave one around, it's a woman but who needs a bit of makeup. It needs
The walls were yellow and red, guys. Come on.
yeah.
But they were wonderful, they were wonderful.
Yeah.
An old lady, she means well. But
So that's all I'll say for now. There's many, I think like others have said, so many other memories I could share, but that one stands out very distinct. So anyone else from this era, Sarel, Beaulla, do you want to share anything before we move? And I realize we do have to probably move a little bit more quickly to give you time also to share, Karen. But yeah, this has been really wonderful. So anything from either of you?
I think mine is short. I came in through Nicola. And I had come in from hospice. I was working for hospice. And I remember distinctly going to a prayer meeting. And somebody said, stop working among the dead and start working among the living.
Wow.
And I just couldn't understand what it meant until I looked around as to where I am all the time. And I was in hospice. And I was thinking, I've got to move. I think that's God's call for me to move.
Clearly.
I need to be amongst the living. And Wycliffe has been a case of living amongst the living. It is, I think both Karen and Sebastian have contributed to that. I always say to Sebastian, you were my first neighbor on both sides. And the stories I'd always get of Wycliffe and Karen telling me of how they started and everything else has just inspired me.
Interesting. I actually got involved with Wycliffe in 2014. I had a very interesting trip to Namibia with Ansi. But I really got involved in 2016, but I only met Karen, I think, in 2017 for the first time. Yeah. Well, I actually had the opportunity to actually be the facilitator when Karen did her Bible storytelling workshop.
You were my trainer.
Yeah.
Remember? Alan and Sarel were doing
Yeah, and Karen actually became a very good Bible storyteller. What was quite interesting, Karen was actually quite busy the week we had the Bible storytelling workshop. And so she got to the workshop very tired. But the moment we started engaging into the Word of God, God just lifted everybody's spirits in that meeting. And I think when Karen told me that the very next day, it was so encouraging to me to know that it doesn't always seem that we do something meaningful, but if you hear the story in the background, how God has been busy, I think it's always encouraging to hear those stories. We had some interesting things with the crack in the floor. Like Mariana and Moritz had a very big joke about it. Mariana Sagat or something like that. And so we had some dust and some things to fix, adding some more changes to the office, but it was good. It's done. And the last couple of years, Karen's actually done a bit more, helping me, encouraging me, being more of a mentor, and I really appreciated that.
My very first day at the office, my car was stolen, so it was quite an event. And then 3 weeks later, I was put on an 8-week vacation on the beaches of ICU. And so I actually only really joined in January. And it's been amazing to see just the love that the office projects and the caringness. I know, Jennie, you were great with my family. So, you guys are amazing. And I'm very happy to be there. So.
it's still a bit of a mystery, just kind of how, like, things with the way they have. Firstly, I mean, I knew nothing about Bible translation, and meet Jennie, get married to Jennie. Jennie's parents were in Wycliffe, and I knew the missionaries, and yeah, here am I. I'm a town planner. I'm interested in politics, and I'm a public servant, and working, and then out of the blue, after we started going to the same church with Karen and Sebastian talks about Maputi, and in our many conversation, I thought I had told him that I'm Maputi, but he said, "Oh, we started this project there," and I thought, I thought I told you that I'm Maputi, and then so like the mystery is like with all the things that I thought I'm interested in, and I still don't know why God made me a town planner, and then I'm here, but maybe God will reveal that. But I've just enjoyed the journey God has put me through, and the people that I've come across along the way. Like I said, I'm still wanting to see more of what God is really doing. And just with the Chain book, my love for theatre, and out of the blue, I first saw the Chain book the very first time we're living in Cape Town. We're still students, and I just loved it. Little did I know that a few years down the line, I would actually perform and be part of the cast. And after that, quit my job and end up being here, and, So, it's been amazing what God has been doing. So, thank you.
I just want to quickly say the thing that I remember and I will never forget is my interview. I remember coming in there and like Mpho, not knowing what Wycliffe is all about and Bible translation and all of that. But the one thing I remember is I remember being asked questions. It was Karen, Jennie, Hennie, and Bonnie. And all I can remember was that most of the questions they asked me, I answered wrong. So that is something that will stick with me for a long time. But I'm happy to be a part of this family. I enjoy being around all of you and just spending time with you. And even in the office, I miss those days when everyone came to the office for our Tuesday meetings. But it's still nice to see you on the Zoom meetings.
Organizations need finance, so at least that makes sure you've got a job readily at hand and so on. I think I have no doubt that the Lord has led our paths to come to Wycliffe, and it has just been a pleasure to meet all the people, to work with them, and especially to work with Karen and Sebastian. And I think Wycliffe has got a reputation for being professional and doing things right. It's a well-run organization. It's certainly much different to what I inherited at my previous job, and I'm very grateful for that. And then the Lord just provides the people, the team that can come alongside you and do things. And so it's to me just a great pleasure, and there's no doubt, Karen, that part of that is obviously the leadership and the way that we do things. But I also just want to say thank you for that spirit of being part of a family, being part of something more than just a job that you come to work to, but that you're part of something larger than that. And I really appreciate that. Our annual missions festival it's normally in October, and I joined OM
on the 1st of October, and literally a few days later, Karen said, "But don't you? We need a finance person. Can't you help?" And I said, "I can't. I've just committed myself to OM." So that actually happened 5 years earlier. So there was a connection, and I think it just grew a bit.
The seed had to germinate.